Ready for some football, a little college football, the NFL. Napes and Rhino coming at you here to wrap up the week. And if you are a 49ers fan, you've got to be concerned with the latest news as it relates to Christian McCaffrey. Not only will he not play Sunday against Minnesota, Rhino, he may be going on IR. Now, Kyle Shanahan said surgery is not on the table. It's not going to be necessary. But you got to remember, this is an injury that happened now, we're going about 6 weeks now? 5 weeks?
Yeah, it happened right near the start of training camp, Grant. It seemed like he missed more than he played. And, whether you're concerned or not, it's the right move. If your Achilles is inflamed, get right,
Absolutely.
Grant.
Yeah, it is the right move, 100%. And here's the other deal. They had a running back undrafted in Jordan Mason who showed everyone against the Jets that, he is a very formidable back, and that if the offensive line can block the way they did against the Jets, they'll be able to survive, not prosper, but they'll be able to handle the absence of Christian McCaffrey if that offensive line is as good as they were on what I saw Monday night. Because, Rhino, their offensive line on Monday was outstanding.
It's an excellent point, Grant. And even with Jordan Mason, I'm not going to say he's as physical as Christian McCaffrey, but he's damn near close to that when he runs the ball. He lets you know that he's there. That wears on a defense, Grant.
I saw that Christian McCaffrey's single game paycheck is the same as Mason's going to make for the entire season.
The Brock Purdy thing going on there, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I know you talked about this on your show today, and I did my rant on this. First of all, the Miami Dolphins looked putrid last night. Absolutely embarrassing. All right.
Yeah.
And all the talk now is about Tua and his concussion. I did my rant. First of all, I have the utmost respect for Al Michaels. I think he's on the Mount Rushmore of sportscasters. That's how I have him. Sure. I mean, the guy's great. But last night, to me, he embarrassed himself. All right. For him not to bring up Tua's history and talk about, well, gee, the Dolphins now have 3 extra days that may help with his concussion protocol and everything. He completely was naive and dropped the ball completely by not discussing Tua's past concussions, his history, and what this may mean moving forward.
I couldn't agree with you anymore, Grant. He's too good to be that bad. And in that situation, that's what you're watching for. You're waiting for an update. You're wanting history. You're wanting a little bit of care as a viewer, because you could certainly see the air was out of the building. The players were a little bit deflated. Skylar Johnson talked about it after the game. So, it was bothersome, Grant. I don't know what it is. He seemed to be cared more about the kickoffs than he did to it seemed like, if you watched the whole game.
No question. Now, you may disagree with me on this, and most of our viewers may disappoint. Hit us up on the chat line. I would love to see what you have to say. Why is it that everyone has an opinion on what Tua should do moving forward? Okay? Let him make the decision on what is best for him, not the members of the media and everyone else like Antonio Pierce, and we can go on and on and on. Oh, he should retire. No one gives a damn. Nobody gives a damn that Mike Tyson wants to go back into the ring as an old man and fight somebody that's 35 years younger than him, or whatever the hell the case may be. Nobody cares about that, about potentially getting hit in the head repeatedly, all right, in the sport of boxing. No one ever says, gee, you know what, Mike Tyson shouldn't fight anymore because of the blows to the head, and that's not going to be good for his well-being. And I'm using that as an example.
Right.
I'm using that as an example, all right? So let Tua make his own decision. Don't make the decision for him. All of these so-called neurologists now want to be a freaking expert as it relates to concussions and CT and everything. Let him make the decision. It's his life. If he wants to take that risk, how's that any different than a driver going around the Indy 500 or auto racing at 230 miles an hour? How's that any different than boxing, MMA, and some of these other vicious sports? How's that any different than some of the other sports that we watch where there's violent contact repeatedly? Let him make the decision. It's his life. Let him do what he wants.
You're spot on. And to pile on top of that, what about rule changes now? Why was he not wearing a Guardian cap? All this comes up. Grant, I thought Mike McDaniels said it best this morning when he was on the radio.
First and foremost, like, I'm not assessing the injury through the lens of like, all right, so what does this mean for him playing? And so what I know and to be of the utmost importance and what I really care about, it didn't really matter the severity of it. I think this is something that it's super important to like all the science behind concussions tells you what we've learned is how delicate the time is right after an injury, and how important it is that you don't institute extra sources of anxiety. So from my vantage point, I feel it's supremely important that in understanding that I'm not giving off any sort of vibes. I'm not trying to even look at, okay, well, how serious is this relative to, his past?
I think it's spot on. Let the guy get right. And I'm glad the organization's taken that approach, and hopefully he avoids the noise that you're talking about.
Peter says, what would Junior say? I'll say, let me tell you something here. All right. There are hundreds of former players that played in a much more violent game than the game that you watch today. The game that I watched at Yankee Stadium in the 60s was a different game that is played today. There was mugging going on the field. There were concussions that happened repeatedly, and players would either stay in the game, or if they were knocked down, they would come back in 4 or 5 plays later. Many of those players are just fine. Many of those players have had little issues. Some obviously have had death,
yes,
dementia. I can go on and on. So you can't just put a blanket statement over concussions. People's bodies are different. I'm not a neurologist, so I don't want to say people's brains are different. But the reality is the effects of concussions don't impact everyone the same. That's obvious to me. It's obvious to me, and I'm not an expert on this, but that's obvious to me. I'm not saying that Tua should play or shouldn't play. What I'm saying is it's his decision to make and nobody else's.
Absolutely. And you could have one concussion, Grant, and you can get post-concussion syndrome that can affect you for a long time. So it's too soon to even know the science behind it. They're still figuring it out.
I had multiple concussions playing sports that I can remember, multiple, because I didn't know they were concussions at the time.
Yeah, you just saw stars.
Playing both football and lacrosse, multiple. I got hit on the back of the head with a chair in college in a fraternity brawl that almost knocked me out. Like, I was extremely dizzy, almost passed out.
Yep.
I believe that was the hardest impact that I've ever had to my head. And I worry about that. I'm 65 now, knock on wood. I haven't had any problems remembering and things of that nature, but I worry, gee, what, is that going to change tomorrow or the next day or the following year because of that incident and because of the other concussions that I know I suffered playing both football and lacrosse? I mean, maybe. I got to tell you, I worked with Jack Youngblood when I first started doing radio in Sacramento in 1995. Jack's one of the greatest defensive players in the history of the National Football League. Jack's in the Hall of Fame. Jack's one of the dearest people that I know. Jack would start talking on the radio, and this was, again, back in 1995, and he would stop in mid-sentence. He would forget what he was getting ready to say. And I remember saying to myself, wow, this is a man that mentally has some effects of playing football for as long as he did, both in college at Florida and with the Los Angeles Rams. It was apparent to me where I was worried about him. And I worked with him not only on the radio, we did the Canadian Football League together for 2 years. And so I'm not naive. I'm not sitting here saying, gee, it's okay, he needs to play next week. I'm not saying that. I'm saying is let him make the decision.
Yep, I'm with you 100%. And, you got to let time play out, too. I think there should be no pressure here from anybody.
No.
And I think the best thing is just to back off, back off. Like when the Damar Hamlin situation happened, and I'm not trying to connect the two here, everybody backed off. It's about the person. It's about Tua. This isn't about football anymore. And it seems like Miami has that approach. Everybody else, not so much.
All right, so let's get to the other part of this story. Tua looked horrible last night before his concussion, right?
He looked out of touch, out of sync. Horrible. The energy with that Miami team just was not right from the start.
All right, well, I'm going to put it on their head coach, Mike McDaniel. That's 2 games in a row where they've come out and have not been ready to play. They were very lucky to win last week. They were outplayed for most of the game. They were embarrassed on their home field last night. And so I'm going to look at their head coach. What's going on with him? Where's he on a Thursday night on a short week at home playing one of your division rivals? I can't say it's more of a division rival than the Jets, but it's right up there. How does your team come out flat on a game of that magnitude and look that bad?
He's usually Mr. Energy, too. I will say this. Kirk Herbstreit pointed this out during the broadcast, and he was correct. They were playing too high back to keep that speed game, that deep game of Miami, trying to keep it contained. And then they were playing man coverage up front, getting those guys off the line a little different. And that's what happened in week 1. Yep. So I don't know if we have a little bit of the Domantas Sabonis Toronto defense blueprint going on, but very well could be in play, Napes.
Well, I know one thing. If I'm playing the Miami Dolphins, my number one key is I'm not letting Tyreek Hill get behind me.
No chance.
Yeah. And we also know how great he is with run after catch. We saw that last week where he caught a crossing pattern over the middle and outran the defense down the sideline for a touchdown. So I listen, he's one of the great run after catch receivers, maybe the best that we have in the NFL. But that's the number one. And I know Waddle's very good, but if my game plan when I'm playing Miami, because they don't really have a running game that scares me, I'm going to do everything in my power to neutralize Tyreek Hill. That's how I'm going against that team.
100%. Would you be shocked if I told you that Miami had 351 total offensive yards, Buffalo only at 247?
Yeah, that would shock me because Buffalo dominated the entire game from start to finish.
Absolutely. It tells you how strong that defensive performance was by them. And give them all the credit in the world, Grant. They were getting to the quarterback. Let's not take that away. That defensive line brought it last night.
Yeah, so Miami has some real issues right now, which really, to me, now opens up the door for the Jets to get back off the mat after that horrible Monday night game in San Francisco. They play at Tennessee on Sunday. If the Jets do not win this game, and I'm expecting them to win the game, if they don't win this game, I predicted this a month ago, and I'm going to tell you, the tabloids and the fans, it will be rough with a capital R for the Jets.
Isn't it already pretty rough in New York on the other side of MetLife?
Well, yes and no. Most people had the Giants as a 5 to 7 win team before the season began.
Yeah.
All right. Their over under was what, 6.5 or whatever?
6.5, I think.
Okay. So the Jets were expected to be a playoff team before the season began, based on their personnel and a healthy Aaron Rodgers. The Giants were not. No one picked the Giants to be a playoff team. So the expectations in New York are different. Now, that doesn't mean, it has been a horrible week for Daniel Jones. And speaking of Daniel Jones, the one thing he has done well in his career, he always seems to play well against Washington. And we're going to find out a lot about Daniel Jones this week. And what I mean, we're going to find out a lot. I don't think he's, an upper echelon quarterback or anything. That's not what I'm talking about. We're going to find out the mental fortitude of him because he's probably taken as much heat and as much criticism and has been made fun of this week as much as any quarterback that I can remember in recent history. I want to see what he does on Sunday.
That's saying something. The stats bear it, though, Grant. Unfortunately, I mean, I believe there's a stat that says he's thrown more touchdown passes to the other team than he's thrown to his own team. You got a healthy Malik Neighbors. It's time for him to step up. Now, the thing's going to be the Giants defense. Can they show up? Can they spy Jaden Daniels? Can they keep him in the pocket? And can they keep it close? It feels like a very low-scoring game.
Yeah, their number 1 draft pick from 2 years ago, Kayvon Thibodeau, was a shadow on the field against Minnesota. He did nothing. He didn't even have a tackle. And then he, making a wise-ass remark, to a reporter after the game. To me, I said this, Carl Banks, who is a New York Giant great linebacker from the 80s and the 90s, does the games with Bob Papa. And he's been very vocal in I don't want to say criticizing, but getting back in fans' faces on social media who have criticized Thibodeau. Well, he can criticize me too, because I watch every game, and I think Thibodeau is a bust. All right, I think the guy's a bust. I'll just say it this game: if the draft were held all over again, he would not be anywhere near a first-round draft pick. That's why I would say it.
That could be said about multiple Giants draft picks. I'll say this: you bring in Brian Burns in the offseason. This defense is supposed to be somewhat solid. You're getting back to the basics. You only get to the quarterback 2 times, not sacks. You got to the quarterback 2 times last game. So the line, the defense, they've got to show up as well. Really quick, to your point about the Jets, I'm going to give their defense a pass last week. That Niners offensive line was incredible. We hit them earlier in the show. But if they can't get a little pressure on Will Levis this week, it's going to be a big problem. And Aaron Rodgers, that offense should only go up. His flexibility, things should open up from here. You get that first one under his belt.
All right, let's talk about the Raiders. They have, to me, almost a non-winnable game. And I know it's the NFL, but Baltimore's had 3 extra days. They are coming off a really hard loss to open up the season at Kansas City. I think the Raiders could get steamrolled in this game.
It's going to be tough to keep it. How does the Raiders offense stay close? You got to get the ball to Devontae Adams, and they're even having trouble doing that. Lamar Jackson, a monster on the ground. You almost have to hope, and you never hope for somebody to get hurt, that something changes with that offense to really have a chance, because Baltimore, physical offense and physical defense too. Raiders, not so much as of late.
Great to hear Lydia back on with us. Hello, Lydia. Says
Hey,
San Francisco Giants season is basically over. No playoffs, and the A's will be in Sacramento next season too. A lot going on. I talked about this yesterday. Mark Dembski on KFBK broke the story about the A's and the Players Association having a big-time problem with what's going on in West Sacramento. And I talked with Mark after he was on KFBK breaking the story with sound from the prominent super agent Scott Boras. And the feeling is that nothing is guaranteed after 2025, that Major League Baseball came out with a statement after KFBK's report and said that it is a certainty. That's the word they used, a certainty that the A's will be in Sacramento for 2025. But there is now some question on whether that will be 2026 or 2027 as well.
I haven't heard this take, and this is genuinely how I feel. Who cares? You're getting a year of Major League Baseball. The Sawyer Hotel is getting a full year of people, professionals in there day in and day out for the most part. So I don't see, if they're here 2-3 years, great. But 1 year, that's a win for SAC. Either way you cut it.
I agree with you. It's a chance to go watch some of the Shohei Ohtani if they come into town. I don't know what the schedule is. I don't know if they play the Dodgers, but you can go see the Aaron Judge. You can go see some of the greats come in, even if it's for 1 year. I agree with you, but I do know this, and you cannot play baseball outdoors in Sacramento in the summer on artificial turf. Can't do it now unless there's some mechanism underneath the turf to keep it cool. Well, and I don't know what the cost would be for that, but I know one thing: it wouldn't be cheap, and I want to know who's going to pay for it. Unless you can do that, not going to happen.
Yeah, Grant, I don't know the answer to this. Maybe Mark's article addressed this. I didn't read it. Who's footing the bill for these improvements at Sutter Health Park?
Well, I don't know the answer to that either, but I got to believe it's Vivek Ranadive and his group. I mean, I would assume, but I don't know that.
It's interesting. It's really interesting when you look at that story. But yeah, I mean, don't you want to be in the middle there if you're Vivek? If you really understand that Major League Baseball probably isn't coming here, how much are you putting into that park? And is grass really that far out of the question? Could they not maintain it, Napes?
They feel with both the River Cats and the A's playing there that it would be very difficult to maintain a quote unquote major league field. Here's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah.
I believe that if push comes to shove, they could relocate the River Cats and have if the A's commit for the 3 full years, which, you know, again, I'm saying if it would be much easier to find another home for the River Cats. The problem with that is, what do you do after 3 years? You still need a tenant in that building,
right,
or in that stadium. So this thing, I've been very skeptical from the start. All right, but you made a great point. Even if it's for 1 year, enjoy it for 1 year.
Absolutely. You get intimate baseball. You get something that you might not have again. Enjoy it.
Well, all right, here we go. Thank you for this, Peter. Hydro chill technology is an option for the artificial surface. All upgrades are being footed by the A's. All right. Well, I don't think what's the cost of hydro chill technology? I can't imagine it's very cheap, but who knows? All I know is the Players Association is still negotiating with Major League Baseball over several things about this ballpark.
And Scott Boras, as you said, Sacramento guy, by the way. But yeah, he represents a lot of the power players in baseball. So yes, what he says has a little bit of swing.
Oh, yeah. All right. So get back to the NFL and the games coming up on Sunday, the college games tomorrow. We got a lot going on. All right. In the National Football League. And the Niners are in Minnesota. No Christian McCaffrey. Short week. The Raiders are in Baltimore. And I think the Raiders are going to have a very difficult time in Baltimore.
Yeah, I don't see it. Now, the other game you mentioned, San Francisco and Minnesota, this one I could see going both ways. I could see the Niners blowing them out, but it's an earlier game for the Niners. Sam Darnold looked well, granted, against the Giants. How do you see it shaking out, Napes?
Of which game is that? The Niners?
San Francisco and Minnesota.
Yeah, I think that the Niners will win a very close game. I don't think it will be a blowout. Minnesota's defense is pretty good. I know I can't really judge them based on what I saw last week, but they're pretty good. But that Niners offense, they have those multiple weapons. They lost at Minnesota last year, so keep that in mind. Although in that game, Deebo Samuel did not play. I think the Niners. I think when you play on a Monday night and then have to travel, it's a little bit more difficult. I think the game will be relatively close. But you have Sam Darnold. I think, there's a good chance he's going to make a mistake or two.
Yeah, it's a good point. Minnesota, a couple guys banged up that are questionable, that are important. Harrison Smith to that defense, Jordan Addison as well, receiver. So, anytime it seems those two teams meet up, especially on the road, it's usually a pretty damn good game.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that. Again, some really good college football games tomorrow. So if you want to chime in, hit us up. You can give us a call, and we would be more than happy to talk with you about all of these topics going on this weekend. And we're coming right down to the nitty-gritty here. A little more than 3 weeks before NBA training camps, and the Kings hit the hardwood to begin their training camp.
Can't wait. Media Day is going to be right around the corner on October 24th. Timberwolves can be marching right into the G1C, and we're going to be doing pregame, halftime, and postgame. You ready?
Yeah, I am ready, and I'm very excited. And by the way, as we have chronicled in the past, particularly during those shows, our numbers are as high as 30,000+ when we do shows.
That's right.
This is the place to be for your Kings coverage on game day. Ryan handles the pregame. Jerry Reynolds joins us a lot on halftime, sometimes on postgame. This is the place to be for your Sacramento Kings coverage, and the numbers prove that. And if you are interested, all right, in being a sponsor, we would love to have you, all right? And all you need to do is send me an email at gnapier@gmail.com. Drop me an email if you want to get some information on being a sponsor, you can also email Rhino at rhinoinsacktown@gmail.com. You can email either Rhino or myself. Again, gnapier@gmail.com. And if you are interested in any sponsorships, I would be more than happy to go over them with you and would love to have you on board. I will be introducing a new sponsor of the show next week. I'm very excited about that. And we're going to be rolling full steam ahead with a lot of momentum this season.
There's no doubt about it. And Grant, we've got these new capabilities. We're taking calls. We've got video, pictures. So this season's going to bring new things that we didn't have last year. We've done a pretty damn good job, Napes, of evolving each season. So get in early, sponsors. We'd love to have you.
Yep. As a matter of fact, my new sponsor has just dropped me an email. And so I really believe that I'm going to be able to announce this coming up on Monday, and I'm very excited about that as well. So
can't wait.
Yeah. You know, this is my favorite time of the year. I know I speak for just about everybody. This is summer sucks. I mean, it really does. I'm just being quite honest with you. Summer sucks for sports content. It's now, it's so great now, you know?
You remember summers without sports content? That was even worse.
Riley, we covered this. My take on this is very simple. Let Tua decide. Why do you think he should retire? Do you think Mike Tyson should not get into the ring against, who is he going to fight? What's the guy's name?
Jake Paul. Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone give a damn that Mike Tyson wants to fight, or did anyone give a damn when George Foreman was boxing in his 50s? Did anybody care about that? Did anybody say, gee, you know what? He's had too many blows to the head. He shouldn't do this. This is a bad idea. Like, let him make the decision. Why is everyone, so like he needs to do this, he needs to do that? Let him make the decision. It's his life. All right. It's his life. All right. It's just like the risk you take if you get into a race car or whatever else. All right. It's every sport has risk. Even baseball has risks. Okay. I mean, every sport has risk. Let him determine what risk he's willing to take and make the decision that's best for him.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate for you. Do you think there's an argument to be made that maybe this guy is his own worst enemy? He did go head down. I understand it's 4th and 4. Is this one of those situations where maybe you got to step in front of him a little bit and put the hand up, Napes?
Well, but at some point, he's been in the league long enough that he needs to know this. However, I believe it was J.J. Watt. It may have been somebody else. So correct me if I've got the name wrong. They made a great point. In the heat of the moment, there's not like there's a yellow line on the field like you see on TV where the chains are.
Yeah.
Okay. His first goal there is to get a first down because it was 4th down. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
He doesn't, when you're running full speed and you got tacklers, he's thinking, I got to get the first down without maybe pinpointing exactly where it is, right? So I can't get into the mind of Tua on that play. But here's what I do know. Quarterbacks that take hits in the NFL normally don't play a full season.
Yeah, there was a lot of questions coming in, too, about him dropping some weight this season, but he went all last season without getting a concussion. He was able to stay healthy. The one thing that I would say about Tua, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Speaking of concussions, I lost my train of thought.
Okay, well, so here's Grant. If Tua was your son, what would you say to him? I would say, listen, you understand the risks of what you're doing. You're an adult. Make the best decision that you can live with and think about worst case scenario. Think about, gee, all right, life is great right now. I'm playing in the National Football League, but is my life going to be great when I'm 40 or 50 or 60 or 70? You need to make that decision. Speak with the experts. That's exactly what I would tell them.
Yep, I agree with that. And what I was going to say, sorry about that, everybody, is that, Grant, you've played college athletics. There's so many times when I was playing, you're in the heat of the moment. You're not thinking sometimes. You are just reacting. And then after the fact, you're like, what was I thinking on that play? So it happens.
It does happen. And, it's again, the game's not played in slow motion. All right. These games are not played in slow motion.
Yep, absolutely. Go sit next to, when was the last time? I know you have been on the field. You ran onto the field. but go sit close to an NFL game and listen to the sounds that crack off those pads.
I was on the sidelines in the 80s and the 90s of the 49er games. I mean, on the sidelines. That was when the game was violent.
Yeah.
Okay. That's when Ronnie Lott was playing, and Ronnie Lott and John Lynch. And I mean, when I say John Lynch, I know he didn't play on the Niners, but I'm talking about players such as that.
Denver. Yeah.
They would take and Tampa Bay as well. They would take your head off. All right. And they were allowed to take your head off. If you watch the hit that Jim Burt put on Joe Montana at the Meadowlands in January of 1987, that would not only be a 15-yard penalty, the ball that was intercepted by Lawrence Taylor in return for a touchdown and the Giants demolishing of the 49ers. There would be even he would receive big-time punishment from the league. The game was played differently then. I will never forget being on the sidelines for two of the Monday night games that the Giants played, and I've talked with Ronnie Lott about this. I think I've shared this story. I had Ronnie Lott on my show, I don't know, many times, but I had him on my show one time, and I said, Ronnie, I said, I know you're probably going to disagree with me on this because you've played in so many phenomenal games and you've won Super Bowls, and I said one of the greatest football games that I've ever seen was the Monday night game with you and the Giants when you got into it with Phil Simms at the end of the game when you guys won 7-3. I said I was standing on the sideline for that game, and that's one of the great games that I've ever witnessed. And he said, Grant, I can't believe you said that. That's one of my top 3 favorite games that I played in of all time.
It's amazing. Incredible. I can't imagine the physicality or even having the opportunity to have that conversation with somebody from that era.
That intensity that night on Monday Night Football with the two best teams in the NFL, Bill Walsh on one sideline, Bill Parcells on the other sideline, the Candlestick crowd at a fever pitch where getting first downs was hard because of how great the defenses were. Everybody can talk all you want about Montana and Rice and Taylor and Brent Jones and Rathman and Craig. The Niners had a tremendous physical defense. All right. And that game, that night, sticks out. And I've watched thousands of NFL games. Okay. I have been in person.
Right.
Okay. Over 1,000 NFL games in person. Okay. I've watched great games in person. Standing on the sideline that night for that game is one of the best sport experiences that I have ever had. And when Ronnie Lott said that to me, I was just like, wow, I can't believe that Ronnie Lott just not only agreed with me, but said it's one of his top 3 favorite games that he's ever played in.
That's incredible. Played in a lot of big games.
That's a regular season game.
They forget more football than we'll ever watch. That's the thing, too. Speaking of that era and even the era before it, my grandpa Grant was notorious for taking me around if Jimmy Connors came to town. I didn't know who Jimmy Connors was. Educated me, took me to meet him. He was doing an autograph signing. Well, there's this guy, Jack Tatum, doing an autograph signing. Had no idea who he was. My grandpa sat me down, put a videotape in the VCR. That was unreal. Incredible. I can only talk about a different era.
Unbelievable. Hey, I'll tell you what else is unbelievable. How great New Works Plumbing is when you need a plumbing issue resolved. They are great. If you go to sackserviceplumbing.com or call that number on your screen, they are there for you and they're available around the clock 24/7. Go to sackserviceplumbing.com or again, call that number on your screen. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. 2 weeks ago, I was at Bennett's in Roseville for their outstanding weekend brunch. And I wish I could be there this weekend, but I'm too far away, so that will not happen. But you can be there. Rhino, you can be there. It's great Saturdays and Sundays, their brunch. And if you go to bennettsrestaurants.com, you can make a reservation either in the Sacramento, Roseville, or their Westside Grill in Rockland. It's great. Prime seafood and steak. You'll love the brunch at Bennett's. Get down there tomorrow or Sunday.
You know what I have to say to that?
Bingo. Bingo.
Get down there. My wife heard it from the other room. Bennett's, the brunch. You can't beat the deal either, Grant. 2 entrees, bottle of champagne under $50. Come on.
I had a great brunch 2 weeks ago. I think I was at Bennett's. Well, you were there with me and Jerry and our umpire friend Brian Knight.
Brian Knight, yeah.
And then I had dinner with Brian Bennett and Dennis Blazona at the West Side Grill in Rockland. And then I had dinner with my son in Sacramento. So we covered all the bases.
Think about this, y'all. Grant doesn't come to Sac as much as he used to, and he does double days at Bennett's. That's how good the food is. Get there.
Oh, yes. Yes, you were 100% correct, my friend.
You can come back and eat. You're probably like, oh, I wish I could have a dish from this place. No, Bennett's is good. That's how much
My biggest issue was I had rented an electric car and I was down in power and couldn't find a damn charger. And I'm thinking I may not make it out to Rockland if I don't get my damn car charged. And it took me 4 freaking hours to find a charger that worked. All right. So speaking of that, pick a rant for Grant. A rant for Grant right now. Hit me up.
Do it.
A rant for Grant. And we're going to start this daily. I've already done it a couple times, but we're going to do it every day. And it's up to you. Pick a rant for Grant. Very simple. A rant for Grant. Give me some ideas on the chat line.
Grant, get in there. You guys have been requesting this on the 2 o'clock King's Court. Can it come to YouTube? It's here right now. What's it going to be? A lot of good stuff out there to pick from. Like the Grant.
All lives matter. Every single one. Never forget that.
How about the Jaguars putting Trevor's name into their stadium, Trev something Bank Stadium? They incorporated it. There's an idea. Keep them coming.
Unbelievable, right? My rant for Grant. You know what? I've done many rants on that. Thank you very much for that. We'll get to that, but not today. But thank you very much. You know.
Okay, Patrick. What about a well done steak? See, I'm giving everybody ideas. Come on.
Okay. Here's the deal. I eat my beef medium. All right. Yeah. Some people, my dad used to eat it medium rare. All right. Some people like it medium well. Some people like it well done. I don't understand that, but all right. You know what? Before I go on, hold that thought, all right? I'm going to look at some other ideas, and then maybe I'll do a rant on that, okay?
All right. Got it.
That's really good. Deadhead, thank you very much. I appreciate your support, and it means the world to me, so thank you very much. Shannon Sharpe, you know what? I'm not going to rant on Shannon Sharpe. I'm just not. You know, I'm not going there. I'm just not. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. I really don't.
It's kind of with what we've seen happen with some athletes, if his story is true, it's about as benign. It could happen to anybody, Grant.
True.
Fair to say.
He admitted it.
Yeah. I guess you got to be really careful when you have that type of following. Be careful regardless.
Yeah. You know, whatever. He actually not only said it was true, he said, hey, I'm sorry. You know, my account was not hacked. He originally said my account was hacked because he was so embarrassed. First of all, I can't even imagine, but whatever. But no, I'm definitely not ranting on that. All right.
No, but I know he admitted it. I'm saying that could happen to anybody. That's how careful you got to be with your phones and your social media. My goodness.
Well, and here's the other thing. We always talk about you're being watched 24 hours a day on your phone. The world knows what you're doing on your phone.
It's not a coincidence when you talk about something and all of a sudden the ad comes up the next day. They're listening.
How about Tua for a rant? Well, I wouldn't be ranting on Tua. I'd be ranting on people like you, Riley, who thinks that he should retire. Let him make the decision by himself. You know, Brian Dable post-game presser. Yeah, Patrick, you know, his press game. But the problem with me ranting on that is the majority of my audience has not watched that. So there would be no relevance in me ranting because they don't know what he said. You know, rant about some of the announcers in today's game seems like they're being put out. What do you mean by that? I don't understand what that means. Am I reading that correctly, Ryan?
I think, BJ, they're salty a little bit. They're not happy to be there. Not a lot of excitement. A little bit of that Al Michaels energy last night. Okay.
Cody says, I enjoy your Draymond Green rants. I'm sure I'll have plenty of those when the basketball season starts.
They're coming.
Rant on Goodell wanting 17 international games. Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. I really don't. You know, the Brazil game, although the field last night was similar to the field in Brazil. When you have rain and stuff, and you're playing on natural grass, you're going to have a slick field, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Again,
mean, the field last night was horrible, was it not?
it was bad, and they're dealing with really, you know this as well as
Yeah,
anybody, very humid conditions, very dry.
absolutely.
Yeah.
September, I thought the Bills got a big break by having that game at night
Oh, yeah.
because the games in South Florida in September during the day
Oh.
are absolutely brutal.
Oh, I can't
Brutal.
imagine. Ugh. Yeah. That should
Brutal.
be a stadium that is indoors. It's too beautiful, though.
Boy, you know what? You're right. That I've been to that stadium a couple times, and it's spectacular. It's beautiful. I mean, they did a
They did a
great
good
job
job.
in renovating that stadium. I was
I
there
agree.
during the pandemic for the Alabama-Ohio State National Championship game. Only
Oh, cool.
15,000 fans were allowed in that stadium, and I was one of them. And that was the first time I'd been in that stadium, and I was blown away. It's beautiful.
Well, they might have to renovate it again after the last international soccer match that was there with people walking through the vents and rushing the gates.
Rant on the divorce. I don't even know who this is, so I can't rant on that. I've never heard of these two people.
You never heard of Nikki Bella? Professional wrestler,
No.
pop culture lady. Artem is a dancer.
A female? Nikki is a female?
Nikki is a female. She's one half of the Bella twins.
Never heard of her.
Yeah.
So I guess, and who's Artem? Is he famous too?
Yeah, he's a dancer on Dancing with the Stars. And actually, it's not a good rant. Domestic violence, nothing funny about that.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Then I'm not going there, but I've never heard of either one of those people.
Yeah.
Hmm.
How about hot dog eating contest? Nikki Bella hosted the hot dog eating contest with Joey Chestnut and Kobayashi.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She did.
Again, I've never
3-4
heard of
days.
I've never heard of her, but you're right. If it's a case that involves domestic violence, I mean, no, not going there. This is fun though, Rhino. This is fun. I like this.
I like it a lot. Absolutely. Keep up coming.
Hey, I'll tell you what else I like is Sunrise Landing and Calusa. And if you go to the website, you can get all the information you need at calusasunrise.com. And what's great about these models, you have many to choose from, 6 in all, various lot sizes, and you don't have to worry about paying homeowners. There's no Melrose. If you're into a beautiful golf and country club, it's adjacent to the Calusa Golf and Country Club. It's easy to get to because you have great access off the major arteries like I-5, Highway 20, and I-40, Highway 45. It's great. You go to calusasunrise.com and you can check out Sunrise Landing from Blazona Development. Again, that is calusasunrise.com. You can check out everything that you need at that website and enjoy Sunrise Landing. All right, so I'm looking at all of these. And I'm going to do a little rant off the beaten path, all right? Because I've wanted to do this before, but I've never done it. I've done the fat rant. I've done my Christmas rant. I've done my metered lights on the ramps going on to the highway, which is the stupidest thing ever invented by mankind, right? I've done a lot of different things that aren't related to sports, right? So you, my friend, talked about a well-done steak, all right?
Yes.
All right, here's my rant for today. Why do you care how somebody eats their food? Like, why do you give a damn if you eat your steak rare and your best friend eats their steak well done? Why do you give a damn if your best friend or your spouse or your son or daughter or what have you likes ketchup on their hot dogs? I got this big debate. Oh, you shouldn't put ketchup on your hot dog. You know what? Put whatever the hell you want on your hot dog. If you're eating it, eat it the way you like. Why would you care how someone likes their food? I had this debate, with people that are pizza lovers. Oh, you should never have pineapple on your pizza. Why the hell not? Put fish on your pizza if you want. Put whatever you want on your pizza. It's your pizza. You're eating it. Why would you give a damn what somebody has to say about the food that you're putting in your freaking mouth? Who the hell cares? Like, you have to all eat the same type of food. Some people like their food spicy. Some people don't like it spicy. Some people like their food well done, burnt, right? I have a friend that loves his pizza burnt, like he wants the crisp like black when it comes out. I don't like it like that, but I'm not eating it. I don't give a damn. Eat your damn pizza however you want. So why do you care how somebody eats their food? Oh, gee, I can't believe that they like their steak well done. Gee, that's just sacrilegious. I mean, who would ever get their steak well done? Well, if you want your steak well done, then eat it well done. If you want it with fire coming out of it, burnt to a freaking crisp, like it's been in an erupting volcano, then eat it the way you want to eat it. Relax. Let people eat their damn food. Let people enjoy their food the way they want to enjoy it. And that's my Friday rant for today.
Well done. Look at that. Good job. You know, I'm with you 90%, but I think the steak thing, Grant, it's just they don't know what they're missing. If you're a well-done person,
it defeats the purpose of eating the meat, right? Like in terms of the flavor.
Yeah.
But I don't care. You know, my father-in-law used to eat, you know, the meat so well done. And I remember when I used to barbecue, you know, I had to make everyone's meat. And then I used to have to put his, if it was a tri-tip, for instance, or whatever, even the end, I would have to put it back on the grill for 10 minutes, you know, because that's how he liked the steak. And I was like, whatever, you know, whatever, you know.
It's become a joke in our household. My mother-in-law, same way. I get it as black and burnt as I can. She loves it. Well,
let me tell you something, Baki. When I go to Belgrade and I order my cheeseburger at that square at 4 a.m, okay, it's not well done. All right. And it's still to this day, as a 65-year-old man, young, not old, that's the best cheeseburger I've ever had on planet Earth. It is the best cheeseburger. So much so, I told you I was with Scott Pollard the second time I went back there because I was bragging about how good it was. And he goes, it can't be the best cheeseburger you've ever had. I said, well, I'll tell you what. If it's not the best cheeseburger that you've ever had in your entire life, I will pay for your entire trip to Europe for the week. That's what I said. And we get there. And again, it's like 2, 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
And we're watching them make the cheeseburgers and blah, blah, blah. And so finally, the guy hands the cheeseburger to Scott. And he takes a bite. And with his mouth full, goes, you don't owe me a damn penny.
You know what's crazy about that too, and it's hilarious? You set the bar so high. When you say that I will pay for your trip, like not only is it got to be the best cheeseburger, it's got to be like the only cheeseburger you think of.
He took a bite, he's chewing, you don't owe me a damn penny.
Give me another one.
I think he used the F word instead of damn, but I don't want to say that on the stream. But he was, and I was like, told you. He actually ordered another one and took it back to the hotel.
There you go. I smuggled cheese curds back from Wisconsin.
Oh.
They live up to the hype, Napes, especially the fresh ones fried. Oh,
you know what I do?
Man.
When I go to Thailand, and whenever I come back from Thailand, I put some mango. All right. They have this. I don't normally like dried fruit. All right. But the mango, first of all, the mango in Thailand is the best mango I've ever had in my life. It is so good that like it's really hard. It's so good.
So
good.
What's the texture? Is it harder on the outside when it's ready to eat, or is it a little bit softer?
Well, on the outside, I don't know, but the actual fruit is very soft, very tender. It's very matter of fact, when you cut open the mango and you scoop it out, if that's the term you use,
right?
Like it's hard to do because it's so it's attached to the core of the not shell, but you know what I mean, of the skin, and it's
like an avocado.
It's yes, thank you. It is so the mango in Thailand. I find the fruit in Thailand is better than the only exceptions are strawberries. They don't have good strawberries over in Thailand, but the mango, the watermelon, they have great pineapple. They have pineapple plantations all through Thailand. Not as good as Hawaii, I will say that, but it is very, very, very good. Almost as good, but I don't know if it's the soil or the tree. I don't know. Mangoes grow on trees, so I don't know but the mango is unbelievable over in Thailand.
Making it sound good. Making it sound real good. A lot of stuff you can do with mango too.
They have the mango sticky rice for dessert. Oh my God. Like the mango sticky rice for dessert is everywhere when you go over to Thailand. It is like one of the It's everywhere. Matter of fact, there are businesses that's all they sell. You can walk down the street and there's a store that has only mangoes and mango sticky rice, and there will be a line all the way down the sidewalk for people to get their mangoes and their mango sticky rice. Now, mangoes are sold everywhere. I don't want to in Thailand, but this particular place that I saw, I was like, wow, this place must be really, really good because there's 25 people waiting to get it.
That's when you know it's a damn good place. There's got to be an element of coconut milk in that sticky rice, yeah?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yep. It is so good. Cody says, his wife's Filipino.
Yeah.
Buy the harder ones, Rhino. Yeah, dried mangoes are awesome. It was so good. All right. And mango sticky rice is the best dessert. It is so good that it can be addicting, the mango sticky rice. I'm like, I'll have it for breakfast when I'm over there. It's so good.
There's a place in Lodi that does mango, and I forget the name of the red sauce. BJ picked me up here, but it's almost like a chili lime sauce, and they put the mango in there, and then they give you a straw that's got kind of the tahini around it, and the flavors of those. You do some lime on top. So refreshing.
Wow. Says, so next time in Serbia, you are going to set the new record, the best burger ever record. Well, you don't know if that's the same place that I was at, Baki. Yeah, maybe. All I know, it was kind of like in like a square. When I mean a square, it was like in an open, from like almost like in a park like structure. I mean, it was 2007, so I don't like remember like it was yesterday. I remember it was how good it was, but it was almost like it wasn't like a restaurant or like a store. It was like just like a makeshift burger place in an open square in the middle of Belgrade.
Those are the best. Chamoy, thanks for picking me up, Smokey. Good job, Smokey. Chamoy.
Yeah. So, all right, you got any upsets for me this week in college or the NFL?
Yeah, I think Oregon State knocks off Oregon. That's the one that I really like this week. I'm going to go there, just college. I think that Oregon's not very physical. I don't think they've got the timing down with the skilled players. I think Dan Lanning's team loses the Civil War. How about you, Napes?
All right. First of all, I've been horrible on my picks, so do not go by what I'm saying. I've been awful with my picks. I picked Miami last night. How stupid was that? I only got 6 right. I'm going to take the Vikings. Give me the points. I'm taking the Vikings.
Okay. I like it. All right. I guess I already got my upset because I took the Bills last night.
Good for you. Good for you.
Pull them out. So
yeah,
we got a couple of quick calls. You want to knock them out really quick?
Let's do it.
All right. Al, welcome on this Friday. Al, you there?
Happy Friday, man.
Hey, Al, how are you?
Al?
Great. Hey, I just appreciate your feedback, Nape. I just, you're right about Tua. Everybody's throwing out advice, and I mentioned, I think you should call it quit because I'm worried about it personally. If he was like my son, I'd be saying, you got to think about your future health. But it's up to the person. So you're absolutely correct. I mean, everybody's.
I'm not saying your opinion's not. I'm not saying your opinion doesn't matter or you're not entitled to your opinion. All I'm saying is, who is it for us to tell him what he should do? Let him live his own life.
I've seen so much. Me and you, Nate, we go back a ways, and I remember, some great athletes who, for whatever reason, they step away at the top of their game, like Bjorn Borg. They're good. They're at the top of their game, and they step away. People can't understand why they did it. But then on the other side, I remember as far as injuries, you working with Jack Youngblood for years. Riley, stop. Sorry, that's my dog. And you mentioned on your show, you'd watch Blood walking down the hall from, 14 years of, almost not missing a game. And would be almost like a cripple, and he never, if you ask Blood, though, he would never regret 1 minute of it. However, you also mentioned Harry Carson was probably the only player, I think you said, the only player you ever talked to who really regretted the injuries and toll on his body, which I'll never forget. You mentioned of all those players you've talked to in all the sports, he was about the only one, because Blood would tell you, hey, I'll do it all over again, and most athletes would.
Let me replay the story. Harry Carson, the middle linebacker, Hall of Fame, New York Giant, great middle linebacker in the 80s, won their first Super Bowl, number 53. I had Harry on my show roughly 10 years ago in Sacramento, and we were talking about his dementia and his head injuries. And I said to Harry, and I always ask every player that I have on my show, I ask the same question. I said, if you knew then what you know now, would you have done anything differently? And his answer was, yeah, I would not have played football. He's the only one that has ever answered the question that way. I asked Jim Otto, who had over 70 surgeries, who had his leg amputated at Cotavadera Country Club. I'm interviewing Jim Otto face to face. And I said, Jim, if you could go back and do it all over again, I said, if you knew, then what you know now about your body, and would have you done anything differently? And he said, I would not have done anything differently. Running out of the tunnel on Sundays is the greatest feeling I've ever had in the world. There's nothing in the world that can replace it. And I would not have done anything differently. And here's a man who had his leg amputated with over 70 surgeries and told me he would not have done anything differently.
That's incredible, man. I didn't hear the Otto story, but wow. But I remember you're mentioning Harry Carson, speaking to him, and you were like, but most athletes, I think, you've spoken to, Blood would tell you, he would do it again because they just love it again. And like most of them, I think, understand the risk they're taking. If you're a parent, Brian's got a young son. If he wants to play sports and you don't want him to get hurt, or you're worried about him getting hurt, you probably don't want to. Probably want to steer him away from football. Maybe tennis.
Remember the term head slaps?
Yeah, Deacon Jones.
Jack Youngblood told me about Jackie Slater and going against Jackie Slater. And this was when it was legal to do a head slap. A head slap, Rhino, was just what it means. A big slap to the head from a huge lineman. And Jack talked about how the first time that happened to him, it almost knocked him out.
Yeah.
And this happened on every play in every game, not only in Sunday on Sundays, but in practice. And here's the other deal that people don't think about, that the younger generation, they have no idea.
Right.
Now you know what I'm talking about. When we played football as youth and in high school, and I didn't play college football, the tackle drills that we had in practice were violent. Because coaches thought that in order to prove your toughness, they had to put you one-on-one with a blocker and a ball carrier, and you had to shield the blocker if you were defense and make a tackle. And I remember my junior year in high school, we had a drill, me and another person, to see who would start in the first game my junior year. And the only reason why you would start over the other person was based on toughness. How violent you could be. That's how football was taught, Al and Rhino. I don't know about you, but that's how football was taught when I was growing up.
Grant,
you know what? I'm sorry, Ryan. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna follow up on that and say we did hitting drills as peewees, junior peewees, midgets, all the way through high school. High school it stopped, but before that, until somebody threw up, it was that violent. It was nuts. So I
cursed at my 9th grade defensive line coach in a drill one day. I cursed at him. And you know why I cursed at him? Because I was in that drill and I got knocked down viciously and I was seeing stars. And he threw the ball at me and said, "Get up, Napier, get up."
Yeah. And
I said F you to him.
Wow.
Right. And that was the last time I was on the field for a week. I got suspended. But I remember that. I remember being on the ground, seeing stars, lightheaded, and I remember him throwing the football at my head. And yelling at me because in his eyes I wasn't tough enough. And I didn't like the guy anyway. And I said F you to him. Matter of fact, I hardly played my entire 9th grade. And when I got to the JV as a 10th grader, because where I went to school, high school was 10th, 11th, and 12th. Junior high was 7th, 8th, and 9th. When I got to high school and played on the JV team, I started from day one and I led the team in tackles. And I used to always see this coach at practice again on the same field, and I would glare at him because I was like, you know what? You made a big mistake. But I'll never forget that. Now think about that. That would never happen today. That
No.
would never happen today. But that was commonplace back then.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I remember a drill in high school. My coach would say, stick your helmet right in their chest.
Yep.
Lead with your helmet, man. Stick it right in their chest, man. And then a couple of years ago, I actually reconnected with my old high school football coach, Coach McNevin, and he made a comment. I really regret some of the drills we put our kids through.
Of course, they all regret it. You only know what you know. You don't know what you don't know. Nobody
were
knew
put
about
through the same
CTE
drills
back then. What, Rhino?
They were put through the same drills.
Yeah,
of course. So thank you,
it's
Al.
Oh yeah, it's really social media, but yeah, thanks for the input, guys. Great stuff, and I think my upset. I'll leave here real quick. I picked Buffalo last night, but I don't feel that was an upset at all. I like Tampa Bay to at home against Detroit. I think Detroit can be thrown on, and Mayfield. I know they didn't beat a good team, but he's got some weapons and he's playing well. Napier spoke to Mayfield's resurgence. It started when he came back to my Rams, and I think they can.
They still had him.
I think he's really shocked some people. He's really resurrected his career. And you called
Al, that game's in Detroit. That game's not in Tampa, just so you know.
Oh, it isn't? It's in Detroit?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I better go back and check. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Al.
Thank
good hearing from you.
Thank you.
Good
Appreciate
stuff there. Very good conversation. Let's close the show out with Baki, the burger debate.
Baki, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, it can be the burger debate because the Friday the 13th is over here. It's still over there. So
yeah. Oh yeah.
Nothing behind me. Nothing.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Baki.
Yeah, thank you, Baki, for now putting the shivers in us. But what's going on, buddy?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you about that burger stuff and burger hysteria here in Serbia, because whoever comes to Serbia never left the country without saying the same stories you shared here on your show multiple times. But let me tell you something that you maybe don't know, whether maybe Vladi told you about it. I don't know. He's not originally from Belgrade, as well as I'm not. So all the burgers.
I know where Vladi's from. I've been to his hometown, south of Belgrade. I can't pronounce it. You say the name of the town again?
No, I was about to tell you about another town, but Vladi's town is Prijepolje. It's it's on the west.
I've been to his hometown. I know he's not from Belgrade. I knew that. I've been to his hometown, but go ahead.
Okay. By the way, burgers in his hometown and that part of Serbia are sucks. So let's forget it. Let's stick to the south. So all the burger things, stories, and burger preparing stuff in Serbia began in the small city, small town in the south. So those people over there are true masters of burger preparing. So after decades and decades, you have it now everywhere in the country. But that is well known all over the world. Even though among people who live outside of Serbia, they know about it. So that's why I say, but still the best ones you're gonna find in the city on the south, and the second biggest city in Serbia, where I'm originally from. So trust me on this, the best burger you ate in Belgrade, you just can imagine 50% better if I'm taking you.
Can't imagine. I don't think it's possible.
Trust me, if I take you 200 miles southern, you're going to say,
I'm not going to be disrespectful, but I'm not going to go 200 miles for a cheeseburger. I mean, I appreciate that. Like if I come to see you, I'm going to bring it. I'm not doing a side trip to go 200 miles to get a burger. No matter, even if it's 50% better than the one I had in Belgrade, I don't want to break your heart. I'm not doing that. I'm not going 200 miles to get a hamburger. Okay.
Listen, then the burger is going to go 200 miles northern.
Yeah, you order it. Figure out a way to ship it to Belgrade where it's fresh, and we'll do it that way. All right.
Absolutely.
Love it. Baki, Thanks for the call, brother.
Thank
Love
you,
the
Bucky.
burger talk. Making me
Have a
hungry.
great weekend. Have a great weekend, buddy.
Okay, have a great weekend too.
Man, that's good. I love a show like this. It was light. We got into a lot of topics, and I just want to wish everyone a great weekend. And we'll be back on Monday, getting you ready for Monday Night Football. Rhino's got the King's Court at 2, and I'll do a show Monday at 4 o'clock, getting you ready for Monday Night Football.
Love it. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And by the way, if you have not done so already, it's not too late. Join our Yahoo Fantasy Football Pick'em League. The winner gets 2 different $100 gift cards that have been donated to the channel. There's the information, completely free. We're already through week 1. Come join us. Love to have you.
All right. To everyone else, thank you very much. Appreciate you. And have a good weekend. Stay safe, everyone. We'll be back on Monday. Bye-bye now.